What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. I hope you spent the weekend, or at least part of it. You didn't need a ton of time grinding the new content that came out on Friday. Finest was like a nice, easy, breezy, beautiful CoverGirl type of drop. It was simple to do and a lot of good cards. Uh, and naturally, because this was the last massive content drop of the year, you guys came in with a lot of questions. So this 10-minute mailbag today is going to be stuffed full of questions. So many, in fact. I don't even know if I'll be able to get to all of them, but I'm going to do my darndest, because in this video, I put 10 minutes on the clock, and I answer YouTube and Discord questions to the best of my ability. All right, you inquisitive bastards, I'm putting 10 minutes on the clock. 10 minutes to answer what I hope to be 5 questions. We'll see. Some of these questions are pretty long, which I appreciate, but I'm going to do my best. So, work with me here. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, begin. First question from Kev Span. What's up, Kev? SDS said Season 4 will be a preview of where they're going with content in 25. The captains are all 99s and the boosts reduce even further. Is the implication that captains will be a bigger focus for 25? So, I think we're all misinterpreting a little bit when they said that Season 4 will be a preview of the content style. I think they strictly mean sets and seasons are abolished. Truthfully, I think that's what they mean. I think we're all reading way too far into it because we're hopeful or we're curious or we're this or that. Here's my spin take on the captains thing. Captains are so juiced right now. All of them are 99s, and the boosts even got buffed. Some of them got nerfed, a couple of them got nerfed. I think, and this might be a hot take, so I'm curious what everyone else has to say about it. I think captains are gone next year. I think this is the captains going out with a bang. You didn't like captains for 2 years. We're still not sure if we should use captains. Let's make the boost crazy and do things like find a way to give Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 98 speed. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a double boost that gives him 98 speed, and I'm using it in the gameplay video coming later this week. That's my interpretation of this whole thing. They're like saying, screw it, go out with a bang, let's make it not realistic, which I don't care about, but some people do care about. And I think that's what they're doing. Now, they have long said or been proponents of theme teams and team boosts, kind of like you talk about a little bit later on in your question. I can see a world in which they figure out how to make that still work. But like, I mean, you can't tell me. Here's a preview of that team I'm going to run. I called it what? Because I can't believe it exists. If you use the Jackie Robinson cover athlete boost and the Corbin Burns, finest captain boost and put everything together, you get Aaron Judge with 93 speed and Vladimir Guerrero with 99 speed at P1. You can't tell me that's a world SDS wants to play in a year-long cycle. For talking about if they do this again next year. So, I think we read too much into it. I really just think preview of where they're going with content in 25 means no sets and seasons. That's my opinion. We'll see. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I'm curious. Do you like this captain thing? I don't know where I stand with it. But now you kind of have to use it to stay competitive, which I also don't like, but that's why I'm using them. So the next question is a long one, and I appreciate it, and it kind of ties into the third question. So I'm going to read them both back to back, and then we're going to go in. So from Noobmaster69. What's up? Kenny, I started watching your content when I bought my first copy of MLB The Show ever this year. Thank you. I love you. And a question I've always had was what turned this game from being so loved a few years ago to something that not a whole lot of the show fans could play for more than a few weeks? What made those games so great, and what makes this year so different? What should entice players to come back? I know these are loaded questions, but it still feels important to ask. So one or any of them being answered would be really cool. Also, congrats on your wedding. Thank you, noob. And then the complimentary question, so to speak, comes from Zach Outdoors. What was your favorite era of MLB The Show? Personally, mine was when we had inning programs and that style structure. Interested to see what you think. So the reason I'm putting these two together is because I think the answer to the first one is kind of the second one. Inning programs were cool and fun. Sets and seasons is not. And I had the highest of hope for sets and seasons. I still don't think conceptually sets and seasons is an awful idea, but I just don't think MLB The Show was the right video game for it. I think if you can kind of take like that similar idea and put it in a game that has a different type of content structure or content depth, it might work better. That makes sense. Sets and Seasons, generally speaking, is an interesting concept. It just doesn't work for MLB The Show, and we've seen it for 2 years. The reason it was used for 2 years is because you got to give something more than one try to suck. And they did, and it did. So, to make sure I'm not missing any of your question, because I don't want to, I'm going to turn it back up again. So, a few years ago, content was, first of all, not majoritively pack driven. There were packs, but there was reason and like value behind the packs versus kind of making them something of a necessity this year, which I don't love. And I use necessity in terms of collections. You don't need to own any card in this game to be competitive. You can be competitive with any card you are good with. Doesn't matter how good the card is on paper. So I wanted to clear that up. And there was like meaningful grind. I remember MLB The Show 20 and 21. Might have been specifically been 20, but certainly a little bit of 21, where a new event would come out. The event reward, I remember explicitly this one, was a Goose Gossage. He was the last thing you earned. So like 30 program points or whatever the style was, you got Goose Gossage. If you grinded that all in one evening, which I tended to do, because I was during COVID and didn't have a significant other at that time, I sold them for 1 million stubs. You could, if you put the time in, you either got the card you wanted or you got the stub reward that made sense for the grind you put in. I don't like this idea of like holding content back to let everybody catch up to it first. I think if you put the time in or if you put the skill in, you should be able to receive what you should receive. That's my vantage point. And I think that actually just made the content make more sense. I think that incentivized people to get on and play, because if they didn't have something and they wanted something, they could go get it. And if they got it early, they got a real reward for doing so. There is no incentive to doing that now, in my humblest opinion. So, all of that is to say, I don't think I'm living with nostalgia brain. I just genuinely think the content structures of 2021, less so 22, but a little bit of 22, like those made sense. Sets and Seasons has kind of ruined that. And I think this whole paywall idea of really packing a lot of content and making people pay stubs or potentially real money for it, it's like a directive that's coming down from higher up for sure. And it's something that's happening in video games across the board. It's not exclusive to MLB The Show, but I think that's a fact we might have to live with. As long as we can get the other content to go back to what it was, I'll cave and I'll be okay with that. So thank you guys for both of your questions. I agree, inning programs were the best. I'd love to go back to that. It just made sense. From down the line. Hey, this is a two-parter. Now that Sets and Seasons are gone, do you think they will go back to the older style of collections? And if so, do you think they could build upon it, how it used to be, to make it better? Sorry, I read that weird. With wildcards now defunct, what other new style of lineup building would you add into the game? I don't think we need to add any lineup quirks. Let's just leave lineups as they are. Use the cards you want to use. Screw captains. Get rid of maybe a couple equipment boosts, maybe, but like, I don't need it. Build the cards good. Build the cards well enough so they don't need to be boosted by something else. Just build good cards. Hard stop. Build good cards. That's the content I want. I don't want you to like lessen this guy's arm strength so he fits this boost, or lessen this guy's arm strength so if you give him this equipment it makes him like, no, just build the cards the way the cards should be built. That's where my head goes. Do you think they'll go back to the older style of collections? I think you mean in terms of like if you collect veteran cards you get a voucher, if you collect all-star cards you get a voucher. I liked that. It made it made me have to like make sure I'm collecting strategically versus just collecting the cheapest stuff. I'd be okay with it. I don't think it would make or break my experience. It's not a take it or leave it situation, but I did enjoy that more. There was always math involved going into every major collection update. Like, do I have enough of this? Do I have enough of this? I like that. That also made for cool content ideas. So I'd be cool if that came back. I'd be okay with it. But really, the most important part, I think, of your question is the second part. Leave my cards alone. Make them good. Just make the cards good. Like, I mean, I don't even think I have an example on this screen. One of them might have been, they made this Stephen Kwan card have 89 arm strength. And I think 90 arm strength was supposed to be necessary for the O'Neal Cruz boost, but then they also might have lessened the O'Neal Cruz boost, so what I just said might have been worthless. Oh, no, it's still 90. So, like, Steven Kwan doesn't fit the O'Neal Cruz boost because they capped him at 89 arm, even though I would argue Steven Kwan has a good enough arm. So, that's that. Thank you. Last question. We're doing okay. We're kind of flying here. From KREW Vlad. Fairly new to MLB The Show. Love to hear it. Glad you're here. I hear you often say that such and such a player has a good or bad swing. What actually determines the quality of a swing? Is it purely subjective or are there objective elements to it? So, the answer to this question is always going to be, yes, it's purely subjective. My least favorite swing might be your favorite swing. Your favorite swing might be my least favorite swing. It's very much what you're good with. So, while content creators, myself included, certainly can provide suggestions like this guy's swing stinks, this guy's swing is good, always use your own judgment, use all the cards, and then you form your own opinion. We could just kind of help you, guide you, because we've played this game a lot. But for example, Trey Turner is notorious for always having one of the sweetest swings in the game. I think it comes down to his batting stance. I think it comes down to his leg kick. His swing is just quick. Like, just the swing itself is fast. Then there's going to be people that argue every swing is the same speed. They feel different. That has to do with vision. Vision has purpose. There are going to be people in this comment section that say vision doesn't matter. They're wrong. Vision has purpose. And one underlooked factor, is the player's height. If a guy's too tall, it's weird. If a guy's too short, it's weird. You want someone nice, perfect size in the middle. 6'2" Trey Turner. Not too close to the plate. Has a sweet swing. I generally feel as if a swing is really good if it's easy to turn on a ball. That doesn't mean I'm always trying to pull, but sometimes turning on the ball could be the hardest thing. So if it's just fluid and easy, it makes sense to me. End of the day, use guys you're very good with. Use guys whose swings you like. This is my main team. And outside of Mickey Mantle, who I'm trying to get better with, and Aaron Judge, who's one of my favorite players, every swing on here is a favorite swing of mine. And that's ultimately why I use them. So we completely broke the rules on this 10-minute mailbag. We went, I'm pretty sure, kind of well past 10 minutes. I make the rules, so it doesn't matter. I hope you guys still appreciated the depth. I got to a lot of questions today, and that's cool. I'm glad you guys had a lot of questions. That's even cooler. So if you have questions for next week, put them down below in the YouTube comments, or join the Discord and add them to the 10-minute mailbag or mailbag section, whatever the heck it's called. Put them there. Discord's a ton of fun. Love you guys. I hope I helped. And I'll see you next time.